Buenas, buenas. Welcome to In the DAW. I'm Kevin Ochoa, and today I'm going to teach you how to make your kicks go from this to this. You know what? I'll even throw some kick rolls in there. Savagery is what that is. Anyways, so basically I want this to be a primer to how to make a hardstyle kick. It's going to be like a one-on-one crash course. I'm going to explain what you need, what type of instruments you need, your tools, your signal processors, your synthesizers. I'm going to talk about the anatomy of a kick, so all the different parts of a kick and why people call them that. The musical aspects of a kick, so tuning, rhythm, and the actual musical notes that you have to play with kicks. And I'm also going to talk about the frequencies that you need to boost and such things like that, and all those important things. And like as with anything, it's something that you learn through experience, and you have to try out yourself and make errors yourself, so you can actually figure out how things work. And finally, I'm gonna throw in as a bonus how to make effects kicks because that's pretty easy after you learn the basics of how to make a kick. Okay, before I get into it, I want to explain that I saw Zimworld's video a couple days ago, and he was explaining how to make a kick inside Serum. And I left a comment there saying that if you guys want to check out how to make a hardstyle kick, come to our channel. And I didn't mean to come as brash or anything because I love the guy. I think he's a very good person education wise. He's super talented. He does something that no one really can do, like putting up videos every freaking day. That's insane. That's just too much content. And the other thing is like when you have someone that's like him, that's getting people like producers like Kashmir, Kirby, and other people coming to his videos to be educated, it just shows how much caliber he has and how good he is at what he does. And I think it was pretty distasteful to see other comments there bashing him. So I do not stand with that. I've actually bought many sample packs from him before because I support what he does, and I think without him, it'd be a whole different landscape for people who want to learn stuff on YouTube. So with that being said, just want to make that clear, and let's get right into it now. So I prepared a kick inside FL Studio because that's the program I used to use more often before. And with this, I want to explain the actual instruments that we use and all the signal processors. So I'll just start off with the kick. The kick is actually coming from Dramazon. And the cool thing with Dramazon is that it's a 909 emulation. So that means that you can get your kicks out of there. You can get your snares, your toms, hi-hats, everything, your claps. You can get absolutely everything out of a Dramazon and then process it further. And in this case, I just use a kick. You can change the attack, the decay, the sustain, the tune depth, the tune, and the pitch. So it's pretty much like a 909 emulation, except it has a couple additional knobs that the 909 didn't have. Other people use the 909, the more old school producers. Some people use kick too. I tend to not use it, and many people don't tend to use it because in the high end, it's way too clean compared to other drum synths. And I know that you can make your own drum sounds inside of kick, but it just sounds a little too clean. Other people like to use microtonic and some of the raw pop and stuff. So just check out those stuff, see what suits best for you, and try it out. Furthermore, if you use a Dramazon, one thing that you experience is that since it's an analog modeling synthesizer, that every hit that it has is going to sound a little bit different. So when that happens, is you have to clean up the sound. It could be a negative to some people, but I see it as a positive because that means that every time there's a hit, you're going to get a different taste of a kick. So I'm going to go ahead and actually start explaining the processors that I added. And I started off with an EQ. The reason I started with the EQ is to clean that up. So clean up the difference in every kick, that every sound that comes out through Dramazon. So if you notice right now, there's no extra frequencies down here. Now if I remove this, you have a little bit of frequencies going down below 50 hertz, which I don't really want. Not because 50 hertz is a cutoff point, but because the note sits around 50 hertz. So I'm going to cut off the frequencies that go below that because I don't need them for this piece of sound design. I've also shaped it a little bit just to get things going. I removed even some of the high end that I'm bringing in with the attack because I want it to be punchy, but I don't want the higher frequencies to be there because I'm going to distort I'm just going to distort the hell out of this kick drum. So After that, I throw in some Devastator. For some reason, I like the Devastator, the older version, better than the newer one for kicks. I don't know why. I just think it sounds better. I don't I don't know why. It just happens. So right here I have basically it's now like a 909 kick that's been distorted to a hardcore 909, and after this I need to clean it up further. So I'm gonna use a EQ2 to clean up the low end, and also to push frequencies into the following distortion that I'm gonna use. So before this Fat Filter Pro Q, it sounds like this. You add that huge notch in the middle, and it will sound like this. So now there's going to be a focus, a frequency that we're focusing in. So that's, in this case, it's from 600 to 500 hertz, around that area. And I'm driving it into distortion, which is trash 2. And with distortions, people tend to use trash. Some people use Venom and all that. But for the most part, people who make hardstyle use the Logic's clip distortion, because it does some weird thing called asymmetrical distortion. That means that the top part of the waveform and the bottom part of the waveform are different. So it creates a different type of tone in the kick. You can achieve that using various different distortions. The 3D Wave Shaper can actually do that, which is why there's like these nodes right here. And I just messed up my kick, but whatever. So right now it's in polar mode, but you can change this and make it bipolar and change the sound of it. So now a problem that arises when you do this type of distortion is you get your waveform goes out of line where the zero crossing point is. So that means that when you have the waveform coming out of the speakers, it's not coming out the right way. So the way to fix this is using EQs. So I'm gonna push this back into polar mode. So I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna grab this now, and I'm gonna put it through another EQ. And as you can see, I'm low cutting even 10 hertz because that will just fix it. And I'll show you guys how it looks before and after. So don't worry about that. Now with this EQ, what I'm doing is automating a certain frequency that I really want to boost to create that tin can type of noise with the raw style kicks. So just really boosting it. And again, I'm driving that into another distortion, which is Venom. Now the Venom is literally a copy of the Logic's clip distortion. Well, it's meant to be a copy of the Logic's clip distortion. And what you can have here is a drive, the tone, which is like basically like a cutoff point for the kick, for the distortion. There's a balance, and there's a low pass to bring down any extra harmonics you need, like I did in this example. And there's a mix, so the mix from coming the input signal and the output signal, and there's a gain. There's also a low pass and a high shelf to get rid of that asymmetrical, well, not asymmetrical distortion, but to get rid of that that problem if your kick is out of that zero crossing point. So that's basically how I use it. There's also extra controls in the back, which I don't really use because I'm using the free version of it. So that's the sound you get after. Now I'm gonna use another EQ just to gently shape things around. So this one's just to clean up the frequencies that are on top of that distortion, because what you're essentially doing when you're doing when you're boosting up one single harmonic or a certain amount of harmonics into a distortion is you're boosting it so you can create distortion on those harmonics on top. So you're no longer distorting the whole base of the kick. You're just distorting this portion of it. Some people like to bounce out their kicks just to have a cleaner version of that of the bottom harmonics and just keep distorting the top. Sometimes I do that. I've been doing that a little bit more often, but in this example, I don't do that. But I'll show you guys another example in which I do. So now I'm having all those extra distortions or extra harmonics coming from pushing that one frequency. So I'm gonna clean them with that Pro Q. So with it, and then without it. It just helps polish up the sound. After I have that EQ, I use a Saturn, and this really, really polishes up the sound. Like, let me play it before and then after. And it really does this because it's a multi-band distortion. So it means that every band has its own different distortion that you can apply to it and whatnot. So you really can mess around with that and just get it right. I have after that I have a Fab Filter Pro Q to clean things up again. But as we'll hear in this case, this was not good for the kick. So I'm gonna play it with the EQ. And essentially what I was trying to do again was drive it into distortion. So I'm gonna activate that distortion. So you can tell that when I turn that EQ on, I overdid the boosting. So that's something that you're gonna have to figure out by experience. So in this case, I don't like that, so I'm gonna take that thing off. Now, that's basically the main concept of doing a kick, driving distortion through EQ. That's how you make the kick. You can also use automations like I've done here to really be precise where the frequencies are. Let me re-explain that. So basically, through automation, you got to decide exactly where you want those frequencies to be at what point in time. So I want it to be only at the first quarter of the kick, so I'm going to push up those frequencies only during the first quarter of the kick. If I were to take that off and just have it on there the whole time, it would be too much. So I'm just driving it when I need to drive it. And I changed the kick already just by basically changing it a little bit. So yeah, just small little changes like that can really change a kick. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to explain a little bit about that asymmetrical distortion. So I'm going to bounce out this kick, render it to a WAV file, it's whatever waveform you're using. And we're going to notice one thing, that the top of the kick is different from the bottom. And let's give it a few seconds. Okay. Here we go. Okay, whatever. Here we go. And we see that here. It just looks horrendous. Let's open up an Edison. Yeah, that looks gross. That looks disgusting. Yeah, so that's why you have to put EQs after your distortion. So now I'm going to go ahead and with that same kick, I'm going to use that fat filter that I had before. I'm going to put it after. And I'm also just going to set it to default. And I'm just going to add like a 96 dB per octave low cut filter. And put that around 10. And just bounce it out again. Yeah, it's going to look completely different. It's going to be a lot... It's not going to be beautiful because it's just a demo kick. But it's going to look a lot better. Alright. Okay. Now we can see it's actually in the 0 point and not somewhere that's all weird. Let me pull up the... Let me grab the old one. You can see it right there. The old one's just completely out of whack. It's like not even where it's supposed to be at. So that's just one tip to get things right. And I'm going to move on to Studio One to show you guys a different type of workflow. Whereas right here, I'm actually making a whole plugin chain. There's a different workflow that I use when I'm using Studio One. So inside of Studio One, what I like to do is grab a kick and just bounce it out. So if I go to the beginning of this project, you're going to see here that I have my dramas on right here, my plugin there, and every single different bounce I have is just a few amount of plugins. In this case, I'm just using 5 of them, and then I'm going to the next one, using 3, going on to the next one, maybe not using anything at all, maybe just removing the plugins and bouncing it again, which is kind of weird, because what you do is you cut it, and then you might change the pitch of it a little bit by squeezing the punch of it. But yeah, so on and so forth. I keep adding stuff. So this is how the kick started at the beginning. Then as you progress, so basically I just bounced out different versions of the same kick essentially, and with different amount of distortions and all that, and then I layer them together. And let me show you that example that I had at the beginning of the video. So here it is. So that's two different kicks layered. So I'm gonna grab this one, I'm gonna remove the attack out of it, so you can hear it without the attack. Boom, boom, boom. So this is how it sounds like without that second part, the second kick that I added. So by itself, I think it's a really good kick, but I actually want to add a little bit more. So I'm gonna distort the same kick even more, and I'm gonna add it. Now that's way too much distortion in the low end at the end, so you wouldn't really want to do that to your kick completely. So I only want to have the distortion at the beginning. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that distortion at the beginning of this one. Oh crap! I'm gonna press Z to have it all back there, and this is how it's gonna sound like. So I'm gonna take that off just so you can A/B it really quick. So it just makes the kick more present. It adds a different touch to it, and it's all up to taste at the end of the day. Now that we talked a little bit about layering, we'll talk a little bit about the anatomy of a kick. So I'm gonna grab this kick, drag it over here. So straight up, just from having the kick here, we can hear a few different things. We have the attack. Some people like to call this the talk or the punch, just because it's the punchy part of the kick. Also the ticky part of the kick that's really meant to be in your face. Then there's the body of it, which is essentially the top of the sub. Some people call it the crunch. Oh. But I would say that this part of this of the other kick that I did was a bit more crunchy. So this would be more along the side of a crunch, whereas this over here is more of a body. So you can actually layer both of these together if you remove the sub out of this. And let's see how that sounds actually. Just a little experiment. See how it sounds like. So yeah, you can actually put them together and they sound pretty decent. So yeah, that's just one thing. So crunch refers to the top part of the kick, so everything above like 200, that gives you that crunchy feeling, and the sub refers to the bottom portions of the kick, so the lower regions. Normally you don't want to distort those too much, because if you distort them too much, it just gets out of whack, as you see in this the top part of this kick. Where are you? There. Do you see? That's just too much distortion going on at that low end, so it was unnecessary to have there. Yeah, that's basically the anatomy of the kick, and I'm gonna move on to the musical part of things. So, for there's a few different aspects. So there's a rhythmic aspect, the musical aspect to the kick. So the rhythmical aspect is just like when it hits, right? Yeah, that's way too quick to do a kick roll, but yeah. So the rhythmic, just when it hits, if it's in a 4/4 time, or if it's in triplets, because Showtech used to do triplet kicks and stuff like that. Some people still do that. It's not as common as it used to be. And the musical aspect of the kick comes in what notes it hits. So in the case of right here, it's pitching up to 12 and then to 7. So that's in a kick roll type of fashion. Then there's also the bass line. So after this little kick roll, it pitches down. So in this case, what I did was I transposed it, which is actually not good for a kick. You generally, what you want to do is actually just pitch the bottom portion, the end portion of the kick. So if you grab this kick and separate it, let me grab that again. So essentially what you would want to do is grab the kick and only pitch, oh crap, not that one. Grab that kick and only pitch this part of the kick, not the clicky part. Because if you pitch the clicky part, what you're essentially doing is treating it as a sample, and you don't really want to do that, because if you're missing that 200 hertz, those last 200 hertz all the way on top, it's not going to sound as crispy to your ears, and it's not going to sound as present. So essentially what you want to do is press 3 and cut out this portion of the kick, and just tune that part down. or tune it up. But if you can hear that, there's like clicking going on, and it sounds like phasey, and it sounds muffled. So what you actually really want to do is grab this kick and take it to Adobe Audition, and that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. So I'm gonna grab that kick. It's should be that one. So I'm gonna go and let me pause that. So I'm gonna open that in. So I'm gonna locate the file, open it up in So I'm gonna show this in Explorer, and now I have the kick right there. I'm gonna open Audition, delete that session. So right here I have that kick. I'm gonna drag it into Adobe Audition. Now what we want to do is basically grab the tail part of the kick, so the sub and the punch of the kick. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Effects and go to Time and Pitch, Stretch and Pitch Process, and we're gonna use let's push it up 3 semitones, and then we're gonna compare it with the kick that we had the pitch kick inside Studio One. Apply this. Listen. So now it's a different tone. Actually, I didn't really like how it got pitched, so I'm gonna choose a different part of the time. So maybe I'll include that little part and bounce it out. Again, let's go to time and pitch. And oh man, not that one. I'm actually gonna bring it down 2 semitones to see what it does. Apply it. So this is what we had before. And then after. Okay, now in case we can't really see what's going on in the video, I'll make sure I'll put the kicks in. So I'm back in Studio One, and what I want to do is I'm gonna compare those kicks. I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna make it go down 2 semitones, just so we can compare it. Put it right there. Grab that and make it D. So I'm gonna have 4 beats of that kick, and I'm gonna grab the new version of it. Save this. Save as. -2. And usually when you want to save these kicks, you want to make sure that you're saving them in the correct note. I believe this is G, so I would name this F if it was an F. I'm actually gonna be sharp. So I'm gonna grab that kick, and we're gonna test them back to back. So I'm gonna do a quick test here, showing you guys the difference between the kick from Audition and the one from just Bounce in Studio One. So I'm gonna play the Audition kick first, and then Studio One. You can tell the difference is like enormous. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, it just sounds horrible with it. So yeah, that's why you need Audition to pitch the kicks at the end, because the algorithm is just so great. And to finalize the musical part of it, the kick. So some people have extremely expressive kicks, like Future Noise has extremely expressive kicks. They're just amazing. But some people like to really make melodies with their kicks. Future Noise is one of them. And we can see right here that essentially I'm using the attack part of the kick, not the bass, as I did with the previous example. I'm using the attack part of the kick to make the melody. So essentially, what you can think about it is that the attack part of the kick is, in this case, a mallet. And what you do with the mallet is you find the frequency that you boosted, and you use that to tune the percussion. And in this case, in a hardstyle kick, what you're doing is you're using that boost that we did previously in FL Studio, that boost that we have inside of the File Filter Pro Q, this one and this one, and that's how you use what you use to tune your kick, essentially. at least the attack portion of it. So then when you do that, you're able to do these melodical arrangements with your kick. And yeah, basically that's how you do the musical aspects of a kick. And to finalize this, I want to just show some effects kicks and all that. Okay, I'm about to show you now how to make kicks, but just notice today's another day. This is my fourth time trying to record this video. I'm just super tired of this, but I'm gonna put it out there anyways. So basically, I made all these kicks. I made all those inside this single patch right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and mess with it a little bit. So I start off with the 909 kick that's been distorted a lot. Also, inside Drum Zone, I like to increase the decay if I'm gonna do effects kick, so I have more to play with, and just more to distort. So here, basically, it's the same thing: distortion, filtering, and more distortion. So in this case, I'm using the crusher to distort. So this is how the kick sounds before anything. Well, of course, there's distortion in that, but after that, I'm running it through a camel crusher, and it has a filter, so that's acting as an EQ. So I'm moving that filter, and I'm really pushing it through the resonance. Let's get that. Let's get that going. You can barely hear that. However, when you start boosting it and adding more distortion to it, like I did right here, I'm gonna boost it with a Fat Filter Pro Q. You might see over here that there's way too many harmonics that are higher pitch being created. So that's a little bit too much to our ears. So what I want to do is when I go into trash, I'm going to put it through a filter. So essentially it'll sound like this. Just to tame those higher frequencies that I don't really want. And then what I wanted, but I did not want too much. And then I go to trash and activate the distortion on there. And yeah, this is basically how you make effects kicks. You boost, distort, and pretty much the same old, same old. One thing that I want to add again is the changing of the manipulation of parameters. So I'm modulating cutoff, and it's super crucial to have that, or else if I don't have that, it's gonna sound a bit different. And let me take off also the Pro Q. So automating those EQs are super important. There's other things you can do with these type of kicks, with these effects kicks. Actually, you can also do them in regular kicks, but be careful. You could use stereo effects on these type of kicks, and it will really help you change the vibe of the kick. So let's grab a phaser tone from over here. Yeah, see preset as, and I'm gonna put it inside channel 11. So let's play before, and then we'll play it after. So before. And then after phasers on. You can hear that? It's really wide now. So essentially what you're doing is just freeing up the signal and making it wider. And in phaser tone's case, you can actually modulate the left and the right channel a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and modulate this by 1/4 instead of 32s right here. And you can even change the waveform, so you can decide how the phaser is modulating this kick. So I'm going to go ahead and use a square wave to make the modulation go on and off, on and off. That wasn't too tasty, so I'm going to put it actually in noise, in random. So basically with random waveforms, instead of having an up or down with a saw wave or with a sine wave, or a down or an up with a saw wave, essentially what you're doing is you're making everything random. And Let's take a listen. Okay, let's really push this. Let's change the stage of this and actually move this one down a little bit to see if we can make a different rhythm on both the left and the right channel. Okay, that was pretty cool. So those are just some simple ideas to get things going. Of course, you can use courses, hyperdimensions, expanders. I think Zen did that in his video. You can also add reverb. Um, People actually use a lot of reverb in when they're making their kicks sometimes to actually add more harmonics. Well, not necessarily more harmonics, but more length to their harmonics in their kicks, and also to make a stereo image. So those are just some few ideas to get your thoughts going on effects kicks and other cool effects that you can put on your regular kicks. So really quickly, to summarize everything, use a synthesizer to make your kick, in which you can control various parameters like the tack, the decay, how it pitches, how quick it pitches down, and that really helps shape the actual kick sound itself. And then you use EQ and distortion, and the EQ you use it for two things: to drive it into the distortion, and use it to clean up after the distortion. And the distortion is used for several creative effects. So, for example, just overdriving things, or even using multiband distortion, like in Fat Filter Saturn, to really tighten things up. And of course, like you just saw with the effects kicks, you can use other effects to add to those to that EQ and the distortion, and to make things really wide. And for the shape of the kick, you're gonna want to split up different parts of the kick. So the punch, you might want to split that up and distort it even more and put it back into the kick, or vice versa. You might want to leave the bottom portion of the kick cleaner, so you might want to filter that out. And for the musical part of the kick, you might want to tune it differently. So for the kick rolls, you're gonna want to pitch it to the attack of the kick, to the punch. And for the bass lines, what you want to do is grab that end portion of the kick and just pitch that using Adobe Audition, because it's a really good algorithm that it has for pitching. And essentially, what you want to pitch is to all the notes in your scale. So this is it. This is my primer, my Crash Course 101 on how to make hardstyle kicks. I hope you guys enjoyed it, that it helped you guys out. And I think I covered all the basics. If you have any more questions or comments or suggestions, leave them down below. I'll check them out. And thank you guys for watching. Peace. And one last thing, support content creators. Content creators spend so much time and effort doing this. I just spent 4 times trying to record this video, and this is hopefully the last time I have to do it. And when you have someone like Zen World who's done videos every day, that doesn't really mean that you have ad revenue content. So make sure you guys get preset packs from people that you like and all that, sample packs and all that. I've actually bought many from Zen World before because I support the guy and I think he does great work. If you guys really like someone, help them out. What I saw yesterday in Zen World's channel, well, actually not yesterday anymore. It's more like 2 days ago. In Zen World's channel was pretty actually scary, because if you see someone like him who has so many followers and has done so many good things, get so many dislikes so quickly, that was actually scary. But um, that's just the name of YouTube. It's savage. YouTube is really savage. But again, if we can support each other and not be too harsh on each other, I think that would be great. And I think what he did was actually quite creative, and what he did was actually going along the lines of creating a reverse bass kick. So that's actually if you guys want to see how he did that, I'm gonna link the video down below. But yeah, it's about being creative, really. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.